The episode begins with a young boy named Prince John, who is running through a dense forest in a state of pure terror. He is being hunted. In his desperate attempt to escape, he trips and injures his leg, leaving him vulnerable. As he looks up, he finds himself surrounded by the very men he was trying to outrun, mocking him. One of the men reveals that John has been dancing in the palm of their hands from the very beginning. They laugh at how long it took him to reach this point. Despite his desperate flight, Prince John, exhausted and broken, realizes he no longer has the strength to run. He demands to know why they are targeting him, especially since he hasn't even enrolled in the martial arts academy. The assassins coldly explain that his skills or lack thereof do not matter, as long as he carries the royal bloodline. He is a threat to those who want the throne. They insult his lineage, calling it pigeon blood, the blood of the poor inherited from his mother. They declare that because of this lowly connection, he must be eliminated. Hearing them disrespect his mother ignites a spark of defiance in John. Even though he has no formal training from the great warrior Jang, he decides he will not die without a fight. The leader of the group is amused by John's spirit, noting that while he lacks skill, his sheer will to survive is impressive. He orders his men to attack all at once. John is quickly overwhelmed and captured, his weapon knocked from his hand. The assassins think it's over, but John has a hidden ace. He pulls a second dagger and, in a sudden move, kills one of the members before they can react. The group is stunned. How could a child with no martial arts knowledge take down a trained member? They realize he purposely acted weak to make them lower their guard. Enraged by the loss of his comrade, the leader strikes John with a brutal knee and then stabs a hole directly into John's stomach, crushing him under his boot. As John lies there in agony, he feels a small sense of peace, knowing he at least took one of them down with him. The leader prepares to give him a slow, painful death as revenge. Suddenly, a flash of light streaks through the air, instantly killing the leader. The remaining assassins are paralyzed with fear as a mysterious young man appears behind them, wearing strange, futuristic clothes they have never seen before. The assassins charge, but the stranger moves with impossible speed, vanishing and reappearing like a ghost. They wonder if this is an agility skill or the power of a high-level master. The mysterious boy begins slaughtering them with strikes that look like beams of light. Realizing they are outmatched, the surviving assassins decide to flee, consoling themselves that John is already bleeding out and will die anyway. But the stranger doesn't let them leave alive. As John watches his tormentors fall, his vision begins to fade. The mysterious boy looks at him and remarks, "It seems our ancestor is in a happy mood, even on his deathbed." Confused and fading, John wonders who this person is and why he's talking about ancestors. The boy realizes he is running out of time. He mentions that he wanted to teach John how to use it properly, but since John is dying, he has to skip the lessons and move straight to the solution. The boy pulls out a futuristic syringe and injects it into John's neck. He explains that he is administering a nano machine, the latest version, to save his life. He tells John his ancestor to make sure he succeeds so that the lives of his future descendants will be easier. With a final wish of good luck, the boy disappears as mysteriously as he arrived. John is left alone, struggling to understand the strange encounter and the high-tech power now flowing through his veins. As Prince John reels from the shock of his survival, a mechanical, artificial voice begins to speak inside his head. It identifies itself as the 7th generation nano machine and announces that its activation is complete. John is terrified to him. It feels like a ghost or a spirit has possessed his mind. To understand the world John lives in, we have to look back at history. Long ago, the fighters of Jingzhou began practicing martial arts to protect their families. Over centuries, these simple combat moves evolved into sophisticated, deadly techniques. Breathing methods were refined into internal energy, and those who mastered these arts became known as the Murim people, warriors far more powerful than any ordinary human. The Murim world eventually split into two main factions, the forces of justice and the forces of evil. But between them, a third group emerged, those who cared only for absolute power. They became the feared demonic cult. Our hero, Prince John, is the son of the High King of this very cult, yet he was treated like trash because of his lowly bloodline. Back in the present, John wakes up covered in a foul-smelling black substance. His skin is stained, and his body feels strange. Suddenly, the AI voice speaks again. "Are you awake, Master?" John jumps in fear, looking around for the source of the voice. He wonders if it's telepathy, but the sound isn't coming from outside, it's coming from inside his own brain. When he demands to know who is there, the AI explains it is a 7th-gen nano chip from the Sky Corporation, designed to support his brain. John, however, is a man of the past. fast. He doesn't understand nano machine in his language. The word machine sounds exactly like Mashin, the evil god. He thinks the demonic cult's deity has literally entered his body. Meanwhile, warrior Jang arrives with Dr. Bai to treat John. Jang explains that John survived a brutal assassination attempt by members of the demonic cult. He describes a terrifying scene at the forest. The assassins were found ripped apart, their lower bodies separated from their torsos as if hit by a godlike force. The only one left intact was the man John killed himself with his dagger. The doctor is baffled. When Jang found John, the boy's clothes were shredded and soaked in blood, yet his body didn't have a single scratch. It was as if his wounds had vanished instantly. In his room, John asks the evil god if it was the one who saved him. Nano clarifies, "I did not fight the enemies, but I am the one who activated self-healing mode to repair your body." To help John understand, the nano machine scans the language and culture of the current era and adjusts its speech. It explains, "Master, I am not the evil god you speak of." The AI then offers to transfer a manual of basic information directly into John's brain. John agrees, but as the data floods his mind, he immediately falls sick and starts vomiting. Nano reassures him that this is just a natural reaction to the brain receiving such a massive amount of information for the first time. Prince John's head is spinning. He can't wrap his mind around the fact that thousands of tiny machines are crawling inside his body. He asks Nano if he can remove them, but the AI delivers a chilling response. The only way for the nano machines to leave is if John dies. John feels a wave of frustration between his half-brothers trying to assassinate him and this mysterious voice in his head. He feels like he's losing control. He starts to ask who put the machines in him, but he is interrupted as warrior Jang and Dr. Bai enter the room. John quickly tells Nano to shut up, fearing that if he talks to himself, everyone will think he's gone mad. Nano calmly switches to silent mode, informing John that they can communicate through thoughts alone. When the men enter, they are hit by a foul stench. John is covered in black sludge. Dr. Bai, who once treated John's mother, checks the boy's pulse and freezes. Jang grows worried, asking if something is wrong. "No," the doctor replies. "Shock, it's the opposite. This is a miracle." Dr. Bai explains that John's internal energy flow has been fully activated and his body has been cleansed. He asks if John took some rare medicine. John is confused until he talks to Nano in his mind. Nano explains that the machines extracted all the impurities from his body and reshaped his muscles, nerves, and joints to create the perfect vessel for martial arts. The black sludge on his skin was literally the weakness being pushed out of his body. To understand the stakes, you have to know how the demonic cult works. It is ruled by 6 powerful clans: Sword, Dark, Spring, Poison, Sound, and Blade. To keep the peace, the Great Lord must marry a lady from each clan, and their children, the princes, are raised to compete for the throne. Every 10 years, the demonic academy opens its doors. It is a brutal training ground where the princes enter a great war of succession to prove who is the strongest. John knows he has to keep Nano a secret, especially from someone as sharp as Dr. Bai, who belongs to the Poison clan. After the doctor leaves, he marvels at John's transformation. He wonders if the boy had been hiding his potential all along, or if the Great Lord himself secretly helped his illegitimate son. Alone at last, John thanks warrior Jang for saving his life. Even though Nano healed him, he knows he wouldn't have survived without Jang's protection. Jang, trying to be polite about the smell, suggests that the prince should probably take a bath immediately. While washing off the black impurities, John asks Nano about the limits of this self-healing mode. Nano explains that it can repair almost any internal or external wound caused by physical impact. However, there are limits. It cannot instantly replace massive blood loss, and it certainly cannot fix decapitation. If his head stays on, he's nearly immortal, but if it goes, it's game over. John is struggling to understand the complex terms Nano uses. To test this self-healing mode, John does something reckless. He takes his dagger and slices his own hand. To his absolute shock, the wound begins to knit back together instantly right before his eyes. He realizes that with Nano, he possesses a power that defies the laws of nature. After his bath, John looks in the mirror and is stunned. His body is no longer scrawny. It is lean and muscularly toned. Nano explains that it reconstructed his physique. While it can't create matter from nothing, it can reshape what is already there into a peak human form. John realizes that his old life of being useless is over. He pulls out a dusty book on blood points and Kai, specifically the 3-gasms breathing technique. Usually, this takes a lifetime to master, and most people never even reach the final stage. As John flips through the book. Nano scans every single word and diagram. Within seconds, the information is downloaded directly into John's brain. Not only does John remember every word, but he understands the complex concepts perfectly. Nano even points out that it corrected several errors found in the book. John is ecstatic with this ability. He can learn in seconds what takes other princes years to master. He sets his sights on the Demonic Academy library, a goldmine of secret techniques. Meanwhile, in the shadows, a powerful young man named Prince Murim is furious. He sent 5 trained assassins to kill a nobody, and all 5 were slaughtered. He suspects someone powerful is secretly protecting John. Murim decides he won't get his hands dirty again, at least not yet. He will wait for John to enter the Demonic Academy, where he plans to finish the job personally. The day of the Academy's opening arrives. John is restless and nervous. Looking out his window, he sees warrior Jang practicing his elite dagger techniques. John feels a pang of regret. He had sworn an oath to his dying mother that he wouldn't learn martial arts until he entered the academy, to avoid drawing the wrath of the 6 clans. Nano interrupts his thoughts. Master, would you like me to scan warrior Jang's movements? John is taken aback. Nano explains that it can record any movement it sees, analyze the technique, and transfer the muscle memory directly to John. John hesitates. Is it right to steal his protector's secret moves? But then he thinks of the assassins and the danger ahead. At the Demonic Academy, survival is the only law. Do it. Nano, John decides. He can't afford any regrets. After scanning warrior Jang's movements for 30 minutes, Nano announces that the data transfer is complete. John feels a sharp sting in his brain, better than before, but still painful. However, the result is unbelievable. As he closes his windows and practices in secret, he realizes he can mimic Jang's dagger techniques perfectly. It feels as if he has stolen 20 years of Jang's hard work and discipline in a single instant. But there's a catch. Suddenly, John collapses in agony. His body feels like it's being torn apart. Nano explains the problem, while John's mind knows the moves. His muscles aren't developed enough to handle the strain. It's like putting a supercar engine into a broken old carriage. To fix this, Nano suggests a muscle transfer. It warns John that the pain will be so intense that he should be put under anesthesia. John tries to be tough, asking to try it without the numbing agent first. At first, it just feels like a tickle, but then a wave of excruciating pain hits him so hard that he passes out instantly. Nano immediately switches to anesthesia mode to continue the reconstruction. While John is unconscious, warrior Jang is downstairs preparing breakfast. He thinks back to 5 years ago, to the tragic day Prince John's mother passed away from poisoned food. He remembers his promise to protect her son. Realizing he hasn't woken John yet, he rushes upstairs only to find the prince lying on the floor. Jang checks his pulse and finds him healthy, but then he notices something shocking: the footprints on the floor. The depth, the angle, the positioning, they are identical to his own elite footwork. Jang is left speechless. How could a boy who only watched me train reach my 20-year mastery level overnight? As the muscle transfer finishes, John wakes up gasping for air. He is traumatized by the pain and swears he will never do that again. But the results speak for themselves. When he picks up his dagger, it no longer feels heavy or awkward. His body is now a mirror image of a master warrior's physique. The power flowing through him is immense. For the first time in his life, Prince John doesn't just feel like a survivor, he feels like a predator. Testing his new body, John performs the first formation of the dagger technique. The sensation is incredible. It's as if he is slicing through the air itself. Emboldened, he attempts the second formation. This time, the power is so immense that he leaves deep, heavy footprints in the wooden floor. John panics. He hasn't even used Ni-Gung internal Energisoft style yet, but his Wei-Gung external strength is already destructive. Just then, warrior Jang knocks with breakfast. John frantically tries to hide the marks on the floor and rushes to eat in the middle of the room, far from his usual spot by the window. He feels a wave of emotion as he heads to the academy today. This might be the last meal Jang ever cooks for him. Nano, ever the scientist, interrupts his thoughts. Warning: sudden emotional change is causing acid reflux. Increase saliva secretion to aid digestion. John tells the AI to shut up and enjoys the meal, nearly moved to tears. However, Jang isn't easily fooled. After breakfast, he asks point blank, "Prince, when did you learn my dagger techniques?" John freezes, but Jang points to the floor. The deep footprints are unmistakable signatures of the second formation. John feels a heavy guilt in this world. Stealing a master's technique is a crime. But instead of anger, Jang shows pride. He reveals that his oath to the 6 clans prevented him from teaching John, but he is glad the prince learned by watching. He hands John a secret parchment, a manual for internal energy flow, to help him master the soft style of the dagger. The moment is bittersweet. Jang reminds John that today is the last day he can cry like a child. From now on, he must be a warrior. John lets out his final tears, realizing that even though his mother is gone, Jang has given him a home to return to. John arrives at the demonic academy, where nearly 1,000 students from various clans have gathered. The atmosphere is suffocating. Suddenly, the left guardian, Li Hwa-ming the Fire King, appearing as one of the top 5 warriors in the entire cult, silences the crowd with his overwhelming presence. Among the crowd stand the elite heirs of the 6 clans: Prince Mu Yon Dark Clan, Prince Kang Hwi Sword Clan, Prince Mu Kiam Spring Clan, Prince Jong Sum Poison Clan, Prince Yu Jin Blade Clan, Princess One Ryu Sound Clan. But when John goes to collect his name tag, the official tells him there isn't one for a 7th prince. John realizes this is a petty power move by the 6 clans to humiliate him and keep him out of the front ranks. He decides to stay calm. Picking a fight now would be suicide. As John stands at the back, he looks at his name tag. It is solid black, a mark of shame and exclusion orchestrated by the 6 clans. The other students whisper behind his back, labeling him the illegitimate prince who knows no martial arts. They mockingly predict he will be the first to fail. John ignores them, choosing to stay silent. But his isolation catches the eye of Li Hwa-ming the Fire King. The Guardian finds it amusing that the Lord's bastard son is standing alone like a ghost. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts as the heavyweights of the cult arrive. Alongside the left Guardian is the right Guardian, Crazed Blade Xiab Ming, and the stoic lead Guardian, Kai Moon Kaim. But they are all eclipsed by the arrival of the Supreme Leader, Lord Yo Young, one of the 5 strongest warriors in the world. The Lord's presence is so overwhelming that most students can't even lift their heads. John stares at the man, his father. He feels the immense power behind the Lord's voice, which carries clearly to the back of the field despite him speaking softly. This is the power of high-level Nigung. John looks into his father's eyes and sees a brewing storm, but he feels no warmth. He remembers that this man didn't even visit when John's mother was dying. To John, he isn't a father, he is a mountain to be climbed. The Lord gives a brief, cold speech, welcoming them as the future of the cult. Once he departs, Li Hwa-ming takes charge. He notices the students aren't paying attention and snaps at them, releasing a wave of killing intent to force them into silence. He reveals the brutal structure of the academy. Duration: 4 years. Stages: 6 distinct stages. The catch: you get exactly 1 chance to pass each stage. Fail once, and you are expelled immediately. Prince Kang Hwi of the Sword Clan tries to object, expecting the special treatment his clan usually receives. Li Hwa-ming shuts him down instantly, calling him a bastard and reminding him that inside these walls, 6 clan privileges do not exist. The elite princes are shocked. For the first time in their lives, they are just students. To motivate them, the Guardian reveals the rewards for passing the stages. The first benefit is the legendary Black Dragon Ball. John overhears the students' excitement. A single ball provides 20 years worth of Ni-Gung internal energy. If a student passes all 6 stages, they could potentially gain 120 years of power, elevating them to the level of a high expert master. However, there is a risk. The more you consume, the less effective they become, and the first dose is notoriously difficult for a weak body to handle. John realizes this is his golden ticket, since he currently has 0 internal energy. These balls are his only way to catch up to the princes who have been training since birth. The second benefit is even more enticing: access to the secret library of martial art. The higher the stage you reach, the deeper you can go into the library to learn the cult's most forbidden and powerful techniques. Li Hwa-ming continues to outline the rewards. Focusing on the academy library, he explains that there are 5 floors. Each time a student passes a stage, they gain access to a higher level containing the secret martial arts manuals of the 6 clans. However, he mocks the students, telling them that most won't reach the 5th floor even if they were born again in another life. Then comes the final benefit: rank. He explains that while they entered as princes, those titles mean nothing now. Their survival depends on rising through the ranks. Stage 1. Low rank warrior. Stage 2. Middle rank warrior. Stage 3. High rank warrior. Stage 4. Squad leader. Stage 5. Clan leader. Stage 6. He skips the details for this stage because, in the academy's hundreds of years of history, fewer than 10 people have ever cleared it. John realizes that his survival is now tied directly to these ranks, but the pressure hits a boiling point when the Guardian announces that the first test begins right now. No training, no preparation. Those who fail won't just be expelled. They will be sent to labor as farmers or servants, where they will be easy targets for assassins. John finally understands why the six queens forbade him from learning Ni Gung internal energy. They wanted him to fail this exact moment. To conduct the test, Hang So-yu, the leader of the Sound Clan and one of the cult's highest experts, steps forward. The test is simple but deadly. She will play a melody infused with musical energy. To pass, a student must remain conscious for 1 minute. As she begins to play, the air vibrates with invisible force. Instantly, students from the smaller clans begin to collapse. Some clutch their chests in pain, others have blood streaming from their ears. The princes of the six clans remain steady, mocking the weak. They have been fed expensive medicinal pills since childhood to bolster their internal energy, so the sound feels like nothing more than a tickle to them. Prince Mu Kium gloats, certain that the bastard John has already fainted. But then, the unexpected happens. Hang So-yu's expression shifts to one of pure fury. She suddenly ramps up the power of the sound waves to a level that even the six clan princes find difficult to endure. They struggle to stay upright, wondering why she is pushing so hard. Hang So-yu is staring into the crowd, her eyes burning with disbelief. She is focusing all her energy on one spot because she can't understand how that boy is still standing, despite having zero internal energy. Prince John is looking right back at her, unmoving and unshaken. As the sonic pressure crushes everyone around him, John stands perfectly still, confused by why people are collapsing. Nano reveals that it has activated emergency defense mode, sensing high and low frequency waves that could rupture John's organs. To protect him, Nano has temporarily shut down John's hearing and is blocking the sound waves entirely. John is safe, but he is the only one who doesn't realize how miraculous he looks to the outside world. Guardian Lee Hwa Ming and the Sound Clan leader, So-yu, are staring at him in disbelief. So-yu is offended. Her pride as a master is wounded because a 15-year-old boy with supposedly zero internal energy is resisting her ultimate technique. Driven by irritation, So-yu ramps up the musical energy. Even the elite six clan princes begin to suffer. Their ears bleed and their legs shake. Prince Mu Kium glances back and is filled with rage. He sees John looking completely fresh, without a single drop of sweat or a hint of pain. To the princes, this isn't just a test anymore, it's a humiliation. John asks Nano to analyze the expressions of those looking at him. Nano reports a mixture of mockery, shock, irritation, and pure hatred. John realizes he has a problem. If he passes this test without breaking a sweat, the six clans will know he has hidden power. They will hunt him even more aggressively. To hide his secret, John gives Nano a shocking command. He tells Nano to injure his internal organs so he can vomit blood. Nano hesitates, warning John that intentional self-harm is dangerous. But John insists. He needs to look defeated to survive. In a final fit of rage, So-yu releases half of her total power, a level of force that could kill regular warriors. The Guardian Lee Hwa Ming yells at her to stop before she kills every candidate on the field. Finally, the music ceases. So-yu regains her senses, feeling guilty for letting her anger toward a child control her. She is convinced John has secret internal energy. But then, right on cue, John begins to cough violently. He vomits a massive amount of blood, soaking the ground. Mu Kium and the others watch, stunned. To them, it looks like John was barely holding on and finally suffered a massive internal rupture. John's plan worked. He appeared weak while actually being the only one who remains completely unharmed under the surface. John finds himself in a terrifying situation as he begins to vomit massive amounts of blood. He panics, yelling at Nano for going too far, but Nano calmly explains that it simply followed orders, damaging 30% of his internal organs to make the injury look authentic. Guardian Lee Hwa Ming rushes to John's side, fearing that the Lord's bloodline might actually die on the first day. As John feels himself slipping into unconsciousness from blood loss, Nano activates self-healing mode. Despite the agony, John tells the Guardian he is fine. Lee Hwa Ming is stunned. He checks John's energy and confirms the rumors the boy has zero internal energy. He is moved by John's insane mental strength, believing that John survived the sonic attack through sheer willpower alone. John is immediately rushed to the Academy's infirmary. Behind the scenes, the high-level masters are in shock. Hang So-yu, the Sound Clan leader, cannot believe a human could withstand her waves without Ni Gung. Lee Hwa Ming tells her that John's survival was pure courage, something so rare it's frightening. He even thinks to himself that if John weren't an illegitimate prince caught in the crossfire of the six clans, he would have taken the boy as his own student. Meanwhile, the crazed Blade Xiab Ming mocks overlooks the situation while drinking, leading to a tense, energy-filled argument with Lee Hwa Ming. The sheer pressure of their argument causes the Elite Six clan candidates nearby to tremble and crawl on the ground. Siab Ming scoffs at them, noting that the bastard Prince John was much tougher than these pampered elites. John is brought to the infirmary, which is run by Dr. Myung, a student of the famous Dr. Bai. Dr. Myung is almost too excited to have a patient on the first day, but his excitement turns to horror when he sees John. He asks if the boy was stabbed in the stomach because there is so much blood. When the guards explain it's all internal damage from a test, the doctor is speechless. He has worked under Dr. Bai for 10 years and has never seen an internal injury this bloody. As the guards leave, one of them looks back at John, sensing that the boy is fundamentally different from when they first saw him. Inside, John is struggling to stay still. He had already commanded Nano to heal most of the damage, but he has to fake the pain and keep his pulse erratic so the doctor doesn't get suspicious of his miraculous recovery. Inside the infirmary, Dr. Myung is puzzled by John's condition. He notes that John's internal damage is severe, but the sheer volume of blood he vomited seems unnatural, almost impossible even for someone who bit their tongue off. Just as he prepares to start acupuncture, the door is kicked open. Right Guardian Siab Ming, smelling heavily of alcohol, bursts into the room. John, still pretending to be unconscious, tries to maintain his act. However, Siab Ming isn't fooled. Using his powerful Nigung, he physically lifts John into a sitting position without even touching him. He threatens to start hitting John if he doesn't stop playing dead. Terrified of being beaten while injured, John snaps his eyes open. Nano informs John that his ruse was exposed because his breathing was too slow, an unnatural 7 to 8 breaths per minute compared to the 12 to 20 breaths expected of a boy his age. Siab Ming ignores the doctor's protests and gets straight to the point. He is impressed by John's willpower and courage, while other students look for the easy way out. John faced a deadly attack without any internal energy and stayed standing. He looks at John and makes a shocking proposal. Become my student. John is stunned. He asks the Guardian if he realizes who he is and if he's worried about the backlash from the 6 clans. Siab Ming laughs it off, stating that the 6 clans are too busy fighting each other to care about a nobody like John. He sees potential in John that the pampered elite princes simply don't have. John hesitates, wondering if this is a trap. Seeing John's doubt, Siab Ming challenges him. He points out that while John passed the first test through pure will, the second test will be impossible for someone without Nigung. He warns John that if he stays in the infirmary for 2 weeks to recover, the other students will leave him in the dust. Anyone who wants to be a warrior must always be a step ahead of the rest, the Guardian warns. He questions why John is even in the infirmary if he truly wants to succeed. John realizes he is in a dilemma. He needs to stay in the infirmary to avoid suspicion about his miraculous recovery, but staying too long means falling behind in the race for power. Siab Ming mocks the red hair left Guardian Lee Hwa Ming for sending John here, knowing that in the world of the demonic academy, time spent resting is time spent losing. Siab Ming reveals a harsh truth to John. Most Murim people can heal their own internal injuries through meditation. Because John has zero internal energy Nigung, the left Guardian sent him to the infirmary simply because he is the only one who can't help himself. John realizes he is truly isolated. John mentions his plan to use the reward from the first test, the medicine ball, and access to the library to catch up. Siab Ming laughs and breaks the bad news. The library is not a place for leisurely study. After passing a test, a student only gets 2 hours on the first floor. Furthermore, no one is allowed to take notes. You must memorize everything. While this sounds impossible for a normal person, John realizes this is his ultimate advantage. With Nano's scanning ability, he won't just memorize 1 or 2 books, he can scan hundreds of secret manuals in those 2 hours. Siab Ming pushes John to make a choice. He explains that without Nigung, John won't last 4 years in the academy, especially with the 6 clans targeting him. He places a paper beside John containing an internal energy breathing method. John knows that the 6 queens made him swear never to learn Nigung so he would stay weak and easy to kill. But here, in the danger of the academy, he realizes he needs a powerful ally. John makes his decision. He bows before Siab Ming and officially accepts him as his master. Siab Ming tells him to stand tall, reminding him that the blood of the Lord bows to no one but the Lord himself. He leaves John with the breathing manual, ordering him to memorize it while he recovers. As the storm, that is Siab Ming, leaves the room, Dr. Myung returns. A amazed that John survived the encounter and congratulating him on becoming the student of a guardian. Outside on the practice field, the atmosphere is tense. The students who survived the sonic attack are meditating to heal themselves, while the others wait for the official results. Ho-Jin Chang, a senior official of the academy, delivers the report to Left Guardian Lee Hwa-Ming. Out of nearly 1,000 students, only 415 candidates passed the first test, including candidate number 7 Prince John. Lee Hwa-Ming notes that this number is significantly lower than it was 10 years ago, proving just how brutal the first trial truly was. The aftermath of the first test is chaotic as those who failed protest their expulsion. Many students feel the test was unfair because of how the intensity increased, claiming they only failed because of the extreme sound waves. However, the senior officials and the guards have no mercy. They believe that those who cannot accept their failure lack the spirit of a true warrior. The guards forcibly remove the protesters, making it clear that life in the demonic academy is only for the strong. Guardian Lee Hwa-Ming acknowledges that the test became much harder because of Prince John's presence, but notes that elite candidates from the 6 clans, like Mo Yon of the Dark Clan and Yu Chan of the Blade Clan, passed with such ease that they didn't even flinch. These elites are already on a level far beyond the rest. The successful candidates are awarded the bronze medal, marking them as low-rank warriors. They are told that for the next 4 years, they must follow every order and use the term motto to signify their obedience. Meanwhile, in the infirmary, Dr. Myung, whose full name is Baek Jong-moo, prepares to begin John's treatment. He delivers the grim news that it will take 11 to 15 days for John to fully recover. John is worried. Staying in the infirmary for 2 weeks means falling behind everyone else. While Nano's self-healing mode could fix him instantly, John knows that a miraculous recovery would look suspicious to the experts. Dr. Myung begins the acupuncture treatment, but as he sees John's physique, he is surprised. Even though John hasn't learned internal energy, his body is in perfect physical shape, suggesting he has practiced external martial arts. As the doctor prepares to insert the first needle into John's chest, Nano identifies the sharp object as a threat and prepares to activate self-defense mode. John quickly intervenes, telling Nano to stay calm and recognize that this is medical treatment, not an attack. Nano agrees to deactivate the defense, but warns John that in the future, it will consider any piercing of the skin as damage unless told otherwise. As the needles are inserted, John feels the pain in his stomach fading. Nano explains that the doctor is targeting specific pressure points that accelerate the body's natural healing. Watching the doctor work, John comes up with a clever plan. He asks Nano if it's possible to heal his internal organs completely while still making him appear injured to others. Nano confirms that after self-healing, it can manually manipulate John's pulse to make it erratic and weak. This way, even an expert like Dr. Myung will believe his organs are still damaged. John smiles, realizing he can fool the doctor for 2 weeks while actually using that time to secretly train with his new internal energy methods. John has finalized his strategy. He knows this is his best chance to learn internal energy Nigung from the Right Guardian without the 6 clans interfering. He commands Nano to heal his internal organs completely, but to keep his pulse erratic and weak so Dr. Myung continues to believe he is severely injured. Nano begins the self-healing mode, working silently to repair his body while maintaining the outward illusion of trauma. Back on the practice grounds, Guardian Lee Hwa-Ming announces the details of the second test. This trial focuses on tactics and strategy, and the students are given only 20 days to prepare. The stakes are incredibly high. Out of the 20 existing groups, only 10 will survive the cut. This is a team-based test, meaning if the group members fight among themselves instead of cooperating, the entire squad will be eliminated. Prince Mukiam of the Spring Clan discovers that John has been assigned to his group, Group 8. He is thrilled, believing John's luck has finally run out. He tries to get permission from instructor Ipayam to visit the infirmary, claiming he wants to update John on the rules, but his true intention is to cripple John further while he is defenseless. However, the instructor denies him entry, explaining that students are forbidden from entering the main building. Mukiam is left frustrated, vowing to make John's life a living hell the moment he returns to the dorms. When instructor Ipayam visits the infirmary himself, Dr. Myung informs him that John will need at least 14 days to recover. The instructor is deeply concerned. With only 3 weeks until the test, having a team member sidelined for 2 weeks could lead to Group 8's total failure. The doctor emphasizes that since John John lacks internal energy. His body cannot heal at a superhuman rate. John, sensing the instructor's presence, continues to fake his sleep. Ipayam decides to return the following day, leaving John alone. John's plan is working perfectly while the entire academy thinks he is a broken, powerless boy stuck in a hospital bed. He has successfully cleared the path to begin his secret training. As the instructor leaves, he wonders if John's luck simply ran out after barely surviving the first test. However, the next morning, the crazed blade Xiao Ming bursts into the infirmary in his usual chaotic style, breaking the door and startling John. Despite the smell of alcohol, Xiao Ming is there to fulfill his duty as a master. John quickly greets him, and Xiao Ming asks if he has completed his homework memorizing the 1,000 martial breathings. Thanks to Nano, John has already memorized every detail. Xiao Ming is secretly impressed. He only gave such a difficult task to provoke the boy, not expecting him to actually finish it while injured. Xiao Ming reveals a strict reality. He can only train John for 2 weeks while he is in the infirmary. Once John returns to the dorms, the rules of the academy forbid outside training, and as a main teacher, Xiao Ming cannot risk being seen with him. John is touched by the guardian's genuine attention and effort to help him secretly. The training begins immediately. Xiao Ming places his hand on John's back to perform a shortcut created by John's great-grandfather. Instead of waiting for John to sense his own energy, Xiao Ming will forcefully inject his own Nigung to open John's meridians and create a flow. He warns John to grit his teeth if he screams. The guards will catch them and everything will be over. Nano begins analyzing the energy, identifying it as Kai or chakra, and tracking its effect on John's body. As the energy surges through him, Xiao Ming is shocked. John's body is perfectly clear, with no blockages or impurities. He wonders if the Lord secretly trained John out of love for Lady HWA, but regardless, he realizes that with a body this perfect, it will only take 7 days for John to build a solid foundation of internal energy. Meanwhile, in the academy dorms, the hierarchy is shifting. A mysterious student brutally beats Prince Jongsum of the Poison Clan. When threatened with the clan's name, the boy scoffs, stating that in the demonic academy, only strength matters. He declares himself the new leader of Group 12. Back in the infirmary, Xiao Ming finishes the transfer. Looking visibly exhausted from using so much of his own power, he tells John to spend the next 7 days focusing on the flow he just felt. John, seeing his master's fatigue, feels a deep sense of gratitude and vows to master the energy. As Xiao Ming leaves, John is determined to build a powerful level of Ni Gong within the week. The true hierarchy of the academy begins to reveal itself. While the instructors were absent from the dorms, the students engaged in brutal fights to decide their own rankings. By morning, many faces are covered in bruises. The most shocking change is in Group 12, where Prince Jongsum of the Poison Clan has been dethroned. He was defeated by a commoner cadet named Beak Gi, who has now claimed the position of group leader. Guardian Li Hwaming observes this with interest, noting that it takes immense courage for a commoner to strike a prince. The official training schedule begins, splitting the day between basic tactics in the auditorium and physical combat on the practice grounds. Prince Mukiam takes this chance to humiliate the defeated Jongsum, mocking him for losing to a commoner and calling the Poison Clan pathetic without their toxins. Jongsum is left simmering with rage, vowing to make Beak Gi regret the day he stepped into the same group. Instructor Ipayam visits the dorms that night to update Group 8. He confirms that Prince John will be stuck in the infirmary for a full 2 weeks. Mukiam is furious, convinced that John is faking his injuries just to avoid the grueling training. He cannot stand the thought of John resting while everyone else suffers. Seeing his anger, a loyal clan member named Ya Yun whispers a plan to Mukiam. Whatever the idea is, it brings a dark smile to the prince's face. 4 days pass. Dr. Mayong is growing bored in the empty infirmary, joking that he hopes John isn't his last patient. Suddenly, Instructor Ipayam rushes in with a new emergency. A cadet has been stabbed during training with real swords. The instructor wisely left the blade in the wound to prevent excessive bleeding. The doctor is thrilled to have work and quickly performs surgery. He tells Ipayam that the cadet was lucky no vital organs were hit, but he will need to stay in the infirmary for 3 days. Ipayam feels the weight of responsibility, worried that 2 of his students are now hospitalized. He leaves to write apology letters for the training accident, promising to return after the afternoon session. Now, the infirmary is no longer John's private sanctuary. He has a new neighbor from his own own group, and the secret of his rapid recovery is at even greater risk of being discovered. In the middle of the night, while the infirmary is silent, Cadet 23 Hyobong quietly gets out of his bed. Armed with a sharp surgical knife, he creeps toward John's bed. Hyobong is acting under the direct orders of Prince Mukiam, who wants John crippled so he can never compete in the academy again. Hyobong hesitates for a second, telling himself he is doing this purely for survival, and aims the blade at John's leg. However, before the blade can touch skin, Nano senses the hostile energy and delivers a massive electric shock through John's body. The surge of electricity throws Hyobong backward, knocking him unconscious instantly. John, who was fully awake and waiting, sits up. He isn't the weak, injured patient everyone thinks he is. When Hyobong wakes up, he is in for a nightmare. He is tied tightly to the bed, unable to move a muscle. Standing over him is John, looking perfectly healthy and strong. John greets him mockingly, calling him Baldy. Confused and terrified, Hyobong looks in a mirror John holds up and realizes with horror that while he was unconscious, John completely shaved his head. His silky, smooth hair is gone. Hyobong begins to wail in despair, but John ends the noise with a swift, brutal slap that knocks him out for the second time. Once Hyobong wakes up again, John gets serious. He holds the surgical knife to Hyobong's throat and explains that he has survived assassination attempts his entire life. He tells Hyobong that people like him have tried to kill him more times than he can count. Hyobong tries to act tough, claiming that the academy rules protect him and that John will be expelled if he hurts another student. He vows that even under torture, he will never reveal who sent him. John smiles a dark, chilling smile. He tells Hyobong that where he comes from, there weren't many tools, but here in the infirmary, there are plenty. John pulls out long, thin acupuncture needles. He grabs Hyobong's hand and begins to drive the needles deep into the sensitive flesh underneath his fingernails. The pain is beyond anything Hyobong has ever felt. Because John has a cloth stuffed in Hyobong's mouth, the cadet can only scream internally as he faints twice from the sheer agony. John coldly tells him not to think of this as torture, but as revenge. After John finishes with the first 5 fingers and prepares to start on the second hand, Hyobong's spirit completely breaks. He shakes his head frantically, begging with his eyes to speak. John removes the cloth, but before Hyobong can say a word, John reveals to the terrified Hyobong that he already knew the identity of his group mates and the layout of the group. He explains that he didn't even need a confession, he just wanted to hear it from Hyobong's own mouth to confirm his suspicions. Hyobong is paralyzed by fear, realizing that John is not a weak prince, but a monster who has been hiding his true strength from everyone. Before he can react, John uses a specialized technique to strike Hyobong's pressure points, knocking him unconscious. As he drifts off, Hyobong's last thought is one of pure shock. He realized that John actually possesses internal energy, meaning the prince has been playing everyone for a fool. The next morning, Right Guardian Siab Ming arrives at the infirmary. He is inwardly stunned by John's progress. While most people take weeks or even a month to acquire internal energy, John has managed to master the basics in just 5 days. Recognizing John's extraordinary talent, Siab Ming decides to change his training plan to keep up with the boy's growth. John presents a small box hidden under his bed containing the Black Dragon Ball, a potent medicine ball awarded for passing the first test. Siab Ming explains that if properly absorbed, this medicine can grant a warrior 20 years worth of internal energy Nigang. However, the body builds a resistance to it, so it can only be used effectively once. As John opens the box, a foul, bitter stench fills the room. Siab Ming notices the unconscious Hyobong and asks about him. John calmly explains that the cadet intentionally stabbed himself during sword training just to gain entry to the infirmary and assassinate him. Siab Ming is impressed by the boy's audacity, but disgusted by the tactics of the loyal clan. He teaches John a valuable lesson: to keep a prisoner unconscious for a long time, one must strike the pressure points with at least 10 years of internal energy, or they will wake up in just a few hours. Following his master's instructions, John begins to eat the medicine ball. The taste is revolting, so bitter and foul that it threatens to paralyze his tongue and make him vomit. He forces himself to chew and swallow it. As he begins his breathing exercises, Siab Ming places his hands on John's back to assist with the absorption. Inside John's mind, Nano detects the chemical reaction and asks if John wants to accelerate the absorption process. John agrees. As the process unfolds, Siab Ming is left in total disbelief. He watches as John's body absorbs absorbs and amplifies the medicine with 100% efficiency, far exceeding the usual 80% absorption rate. He begins to wonder if John was born with the body of a war god, as the energy inside the boy begins to surge to incredible new heights. John opens his eyes and feels the immense power of internal energy coursing through his veins. Xiao Ming is physically exhausted and drenched in sweat, but he is smiling. He informs John that thanks to their combined effort and John's unique physical composition, he has managed to absorb 1.5 times more energy than expected, giving him a foundation of roughly 30 years of internal energy Nigang. John realizes that while Xiao Ming credits luck, his true luck is Nano, who perfectly synchronized the absorption. John asks if they can begin learning the butterfly blade skills next, and Xiao Ming agrees, eager to teach his talented student before their time runs out. Meanwhile, back at the dorms, Prince Mukiam is in a jubilant mood, mistakenly believing that John is currently suffering or crippled. However, when Hyobong returns to the group looking completely bald and wearing a hat, the mood shifts. Hyobong lies to Mukiam, claiming that he failed to injure John because Dr. Mayang stayed awake by John's side the entire night. Infuriated by the failure, Mukiam beats Hyobong. During the confrontation, Mukiam's advisor, Ya Yun, realizes that Dr. Mayang Beek Jongmu is likely the disciple of the legendary Dr. Beek. Dr. Beek is not only the Lord's personal physician, but also ranked in the top 30 strongest warriors of the demonic cult. Realizing they are up against a powerful doctor's protection, Mukiam feels his plan has been completely wasted. Hyobong, feeling betrayed by Mukiam's lack of support for his clan, silently vows to watch Mukiam fall when John finally returns. 7 days pass in the infirmary. John and Xiao Ming spend every morning at 6 am training intensely. Xiao Ming is shocked by John's genius. The boy has already mastered the butterfly shadow step and the 24 movements of the butterfly blade technique in just a few days. He doesn't know that Nano has scanned his every movement, allowing John to copy them with 100% accuracy. John intentionally makes slight mistakes to appear more human so his master doesn't get suspicious of his perfection. On their final day together, Xiao Ming feels a sense of regret that they only had 1 week. He tells John that if they had 2 or 3 months, he could have turned him into a master. As a parting gift, he hands John a manual containing the advanced formations of the butterfly dance and internal energy operation techniques. He warns John to practice diligently and not grow lazy, promising that he will test John's progress the next time they meet. John bows deeply, feeling a genuine bond with the teacher who has given him the tools to finally fight back against his enemies. On the final day of training, Right Guardian Xiao Ming shows John his priceless weapon, the wild dance blade. John is surprised to find that the sword is incredibly light, weighing only the 5th of June approx. 900 grams. Xiao Ming explains that for the butterfly technique to be effective, a sword must be light, sharp, and durable. To demonstrate, he swings the blade effortlessly, slicing through the corner of a bed like butter. He then performs the full butterfly technique formation, and John immediately orders Nano to scan and record every movement. As Xiao Ming leaves the infirmary, he is watched from a distance by Great Guardian Murim and Left Guardian Li Hwa Ming. Li Hwa Ming is curious why someone as powerful as the Great Guardian is so interested in the 7th Prince. Murim cryptically suggests that because of his royal blood, John has a real chance, before vanishing instantly. Li Hwa Ming is left stunned by Murim's incredible speed, wondering if 10 days in the infirmary could truly change a boy's fate. Inside, Dr. Mayang watches John sleep, thinking it is the boy's last peaceful moment before he must face the harsh reality of the dorms. However, John isn't just sleeping. Nano is performing a massive physical overhaul. Nano explains that to master the butterfly technique, John's muscles and veins need significant reconstruction. This process causes John to vomit and his body to shake violently, terrifying Dr. Mayang. But when the doctor checks John's pulse, he is shocked John's body has suddenly become incredibly stable and powerful, a phenomenon the doctor has never seen before. After the doctor leaves, John wakes up and tests his new strength. He feels a massive difference in his hands compared to just 6 hours ago. He realizes that if his teacher knew he had acquired a lifetime of physical conditioning in just a few hours, even Xiao Ming would be frightened. John remembers his master's final words, "Don't ever lose to anyone, my child." With 30 years of internal energy and a body perfectly tuned for the butterfly technique, John is no longer the weak target he used to be. He is now a monster in disguise, ready to return to the academy. John presents himself as a completely transformed warrior. After undergoing 6 hours of intense physical reconstruction by Nano, he tests his new movements and is thrilled with the result. His body is now so finely tuned that his senses have become razor sharp. He can even sense Dr. Mayang approaching the room before he enters, something he was never able to do before. As John prepares to be discharged, he thanks Dr. Mayang for his care. The doctor, though pretending to be indifferent, offers a sincere prayer for John's safety. Knowing the boy is heading into a den of lions, John is deeply grateful, realizing the doctor intentionally looked the other way while the right guardian was secretly training him. As John leaves, he makes a cryptic promise. The doctor won't be bored for long because he will soon have plenty of patients to treat. John arrives at the academy practice grounds just as the groups are gathering for practical training with real swords. Prince Mu Kiom smirks at his arrival, but John completely ignores him, which infuriates the prince. Instructor Ipayam, worried about John's lack of practice, positions him in a spot that requires minimal movement. He warns the group that any more accidents will lead to immediate expulsion. The training begins, and Mu Kiom takes command, barking orders and forcing everyone to hold difficult postures. Within 15 minutes, most cadets are exhausted and stumbling, but John remains perfectly steady. Instructor Ipayam is shocked. John is performing better than anyone else, despite missing 2 weeks of training. He doesn't know that Nano has uploaded a simulation video directly into John's vision, allowing him to follow the formation with robotic precision. Seeing John succeed, Mu Kiom decides to sabotage him. He signals his loyal follower, Ya Yun, to move behind John during a formation change. As the order is given to thrust swords through the shields, Ya Yun prepares to strike John from behind, aiming to send him crawling on the ground in humiliation. John, however, is fully aware of the trap. As Ya Yun swings a powerful kick, John looks back with a chilling gaze that freezes the attacker's heart. John subtly uses his internal energy, now significantly stronger than anyone realizes, to counter. Instead of John falling, Ya Yun is blasted backward by the sheer force of the impact, landing hard on the ground. Instructor Ipayam rushes over, furious at Ja Yun for causing another accident. Despite Ja Yun's protests that John's backside was like a brick wall, the instructor punishes him with 4 days of grueling extra training. Watching from the sidelines, Guardian Li Hwa Ming is stunned. She realizes that John's internal energy is far beyond 30 years. It's at a level that shouldn't be possible for a boy who just started training. She attributes this miracle to his royal blood, assuming that his legendary lineage allows him to absorb medicine and training at an impossible rate. Meanwhile, the rest of the group mocks Ya Yun, happy to see Mu Kiom's lackey finally get what he deserves. After training, John enjoys a meal of delicious chicken, a massive relief after the torture of bland infirmary food. As he eats, he feels Mu Kiom's hateful gaze. John reflects on his past, vowing to avenge his mother's death. He knows the 6 clans will never stop targeting him, and he is determined to make them pay. As the group heads back to the quarters, Mu Kiom and his minions block John's path. Mu Kiom tries to humiliate John in front of a crowd, calling him dirty blood. However, John cleverly turns the tables, asking if Mu Kiom is insulting the Lord himself by calling his son's blood dirty. The crowd, including elite students like Won Ihu and King Yan, watches as Mu Kiom stammers, trapped by his own words. Losing his temper, Mu Kiom lunges at John, but John is faster. He lands a brutal punch squarely on Mu Kiom's nose, drawing blood. Shocked and humiliated, Mu Kiom uses the Spring Clan's fist technique, but John dodges with such grace and lightness that King Yan is left speechless. John leads Mu Kiom and his lackeys on a chase away from the prying eyes of the crowd. Mu Kiom, thinking John is running in fear, vows to break every bone in his body. Finally, in a secluded area, John stops. He reveals that he wasn't running, he was simply leading them to a place where he could use his full power without being seen. John launches an attack so terrifying that Mu Kiom feels like he is facing a ghost. Mu Kiom barely manages to use his 7-star defense, but the sheer impact of John's strike sends him skidding back across the ground. For the first time, the arrogant prince of the Spring Clan realizes he isn't fighting a weakling, he is fighting a monster. Unable to understand how John, who had zero internal energy just 10 days ago, is suddenly moving with such weightless speed, John tests his new power by activating the second formation of the butterfly dance. His movements become as light as a butterfly, but Murim is not a common warrior. Using his extensive battle experience and the Spring Clan's fist technique, Murim manages to dodge John's initial strike and lands a series of heavy punches directly into John's stomach. John realizes that even with 30 years of internal energy, Murim's power is superior because of his years of elite training and his own medicine ball consumption. During the exchange, John creates an after image to confuse the lackeys, but Murim reads the movement and kicks John to the ground. Murim mocks him, saying that John is merely a copycat who has learned techniques without understanding how to actually react in a real fight. John feels the gap in their experience. He was so focused on landing his own punches that he didn't even see the kick coming. As Murim lunges in to finish him, Nano intervenes, detecting extreme danger. Nano enhances John's vision and activates battle tutorial mode. Suddenly, time seems to slow down. Nano analyzes Murim's movements every 0.01 seconds and guides John's body through an optional self-defense martial art, specifically boxing. John lands a sharp, direct punch to Murim's face that leaves the prince dazed. Murim is baffled. This wasn't the butterfly technique or anything he recognized. Nano then seamlessly merges the boxing defense with the butterfly dance. Now, John can see every single one of Murim's punches before they even land. As John dominates the fight, Murim's mind begins to fracture. The trauma of his past resurfaces. He remembers his mother's desperate voice telling him he must be the best to win back his father's love, and her later cruelty, calling him a mistake and a failure when he couldn't live up to her expectations. Driven to madness by these memories, Murim makes a final, desperate attack, screaming about John's dirty blood. But John is far beyond him now. He grabs Murim by the head and slams him brutally into the ground. Murim's two lackeys, who were watching from the side, are paralyzed with fear. They realize that the boy they considered a weakling has just defeated someone even they couldn't beat together. When John asks if they want to try their luck next, they frantically shake their heads and quickly drag their unconscious leader away. He tries to push his lackeys away, demanding to walk on his own, and asks John why he didn't finish him off. John coldly replies that since the second test is a group evaluation, killing him now would jeopardize the team. But he warns Murim, "If you come after me again, I will truly kill you." As John walks away, leaving a fuming Murim behind, he reflects on the fight. He realizes that while he has the best techniques, he lacks the battle experience of the high-ranking clan members. To survive the 6 clans, he needs more than just power. He needs wisdom and seasoned reflexes. Seeking answers, John goes to the edge of a quiet lake and consults Nano. He is shocked to learn that he has only utilized 3% of Nano's total functions. To help him understand his potential, Nano transfers a manual function directly into John's brain in English. The massive data dump makes John dizzy, but he discovers a game-changing feature: repetitive battle in augmented reality (AR). This function allows him to train against virtual opponents to gain years of combat experience in a matter of hours. John asks Nano to create an avatar of Murim. Nano warns that it lacks full data but can create a realistic simulation. John boldly sets the impact percentage to 100%, meaning any hit he takes in the virtual world will cause the same physical pain in reality. The simulation begins, and the avatar even mimics Murim's arrogant personality. John is thrilled here. He doesn't have to hold back for the sake of the test. He can fight to kill. The training is brutal. John fights the avatar 15 times throughout the night. In the beginning, he is defeated within just 5 moves, feeling the excruciating pain of every punch and kick. However, by the 15th match, he finally secures a victory. John realizes that if his real fight with Murim had gone on any longer, he would have likely lost. He vows to spend the next 7 days defeating the avatar in every single match until his movements are flawless. Late that night, John returns to the dorms. As he looks for his bed, the other students ignore him, but someone unexpected steps forward. It is Hyobong, now wearing a hat to hide his bald head. He respectfully points John to his bed, shocking the entire room. Hyobong, having been cast out by Murim, realizes he has no future left unless he makes a desperate move. He kneels before John and declares, "Prince, I, Cadet 23 Hyobong, wish to serve you. Please become my master." The room falls silent as the students fans wonder why anyone would pledge loyalty to the 7th prince, who seemingly has nothing to offer.
This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.